Greetings and salutations. Getting ready to go. Everything that we need is on the bus. If it ain't on the bus, we don't need it. All right, before we take off, we need to establish some rules for the road. Oh, here's your jackets, bud.
Power sleeps there.
Yeah, there's your jackets. Okay, watch out.
Put the arms on.
Okay, all right. Gotta get the dog up in here. Come on, Shadow. Come on. And it's 5:15. Not bad. Be dark in about an hour. I don't have the sun in my eyes anymore. But right now, we're heading north. Well, good morning. Well, that needs to be fixed at some point. I checked this before I left and I filled it, and it looks like it's leaking out. Doesn't look very nice. Buckus. Well, we spent the night at a rest area about 250 miles from home. Yeah, I better go top those off. Well, once we got out of San Antonio, we're going roughly 65, 70 miles an hour. The kids, however, might not survive the trip. Okay. Hey. Can you get me a paper towel, please? And if you're done with that light, turn it off.
Why there's so many trucks?
Oh, God. Preteen. Stop. Check those front hubs. I don't know how long it had been since they've been filled, and I filled them before we left. You can see that one's leaking. Leaking pretty good. I think it's leaking just off the cap. Those are getting pretty hard. Those aren't that expensive. Go ahead and replace them. And I'm gonna get back on the road and drive for another 10 hours. I think we'll just stop in Phoenix. I think that's our next stop.
12 seconds later.
Apologize for the wind noise. We're in the windy part of Texas. This is getting annoying. See that? That's my EGT probe. It's supposed to be up in that. And this is the second time that this has happened. It happened last night too. This is not good. No, I gotta fix it.
Moments later.
This wire right there, that's what that probe keeps getting pushed out. Now I got that thing as tight as I can get it. I think once I hit some civilization, I'll stop. If I find a Home Depot real close, I'll stop in and grab a handful of freaking pipe thread plugs. It's like about 3/8. And if it comes out again, I'm taking that probe out and plugging it. I'll deal with it when I get home. Less than ideal. That's the second time inside of, I don't know how far I am from home, 350 miles. It's going to take a week to get there at this rate. All right, back on the road. for now. Oh, the basketball court's still here.
What?
The basketball hoop's still here. Huh? Yeah. So sad. I miss our old house. $1,300 miles just to do a drive-by. We're not in Texas anymore. I've been waiting 4 days to say that. If you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you know that recently we moved from Paron, which is about, I don't know, 25 miles that way. Not even that far. Come on, Chattel. Where'd my damn dog go? And we moved 1,300 miles away to South Texas. I miss the Death Valley area so much that when I found out that our kids had a whole week off for Thanksgiving, I found that out back in August when we got the kids enrolled in school and I got the schedule. I started making plans to come out here. So that's what we're doing, and we're gonna hit a couple of spots that I have never been to while we're here, and then we'll start heading back on Thanksgiving. On Thursday, we'll start heading back to Texas, and we'll hit some spots off I-40 along Route 66, some points of interest, and we'll take you along. We drove out from Texas. We left on Friday afternoon after the kids got home from school, and we drove I-10 all the way to 93, and then 93 into Vegas. Stopped and visited my friend Martin from the Martin Built channel, and Ken and Rita, my old neighbors from the old neighborhood. Come on, boy, girl, whatever you are, eunuch. So, hi. Where'd my dog go? Shadow! Let me find my damn dog. Found her. We spent the night here at Death Valley Junction, just because it was dark by the time I got here, and I didn't want to try to drive down into Furnace Creek in the dark. Stopped here, and they allow camping across the street for a small donation. So that's where we spent the night. I think we're probably going to spend the next 3 nights in Death Valley at Furnace Creek at campground. We might leave and go into Beatty, either Beatty or back into Paron Wednesday night at the winery if they'll let us into this thing, just so we can plug in and dump the tanks and see what the status of our tanks is at right now. Battery's at 1/3, 2/3 fresh, 1/3 black, 1/3 gray. Over there's the Opera House. That was more of a community building back when this was a company town. And in the 60s, an actress was moving from New York out to California. She broke down here and got her car fixed and fell in love with the place and bought it. And this is where she lived the rest of her life. And she did the Opera House, painted it all up real pretty, did performances all the time. She lived well into her 80s. This is the garage. And this is where they processed all the borax ore that came from Ryan, which old Ryan is right over yonder. If you see that little white dot just above that salt cedar tree, on the other side is old Ryan. And then that closed down in 1911, between 11 and 14. I'll look it back up and see. And then they moved all the operations. There was a railroad spur that came off of there and led over to here. And then they started operations in 1914 over in New Ryan, which is in Death Valley. And that had its own railroad called Death Valley Railroad, and it was a narrow gauge railroad, and there was a line that came in from there that came to the processing plant. That big mound of dirt out there, I always wondered what that was. And what that was a ramp that they would drive the trains up onto, and then over there where that little shack is, at the head of that berm, was a huge trestle system with ore bins. And that's where they would dump, from the Death Valley Railroad, that's where they would dump all the ore for processing. They would process it here, don't ask me how, but they would process it here, load it on train cars, and it would go up the Tidewater and Tonopah Railroad down to Ludlow, where it would go on to the Salt Lake and Los Angeles Railroad, or the Salt Lake and San Francisco. And it would go into California to market. This garage not only served as probably a fuel station, but likely also was a maintenance shed for the railroad. You can see it right in front of my bus. You can see some of the ties, and they go right through here and right that way towards Baker. So this is the train depot right here. So, looking a bit weathered. Let's go take a peek inside. Bunch of stuff. This really was a quiet place to be. There's very little traffic in the middle of the night through here, and nice and quiet. Bit nippy. Well, somebody had a bad day. Trucker Dan had a bad day. U-joint cap. Okay, so yesterday when I went inside to pay my donation, they gave me an informational flyer about the facilities here, and invited me to do a tour of the Opera House at 9 o'clock, but I think we're going to be gone by then. We get into Death Valley. But they do tours of the Opera House. I don't know. It's a nice little stop along the way. It's worth the stop. This thing is awesome. I don't have any complaints about this. It works splendidly. In fact, that's how we kept from freezing to death last night. However, I do have issue with the rubber components in the fuel system, like the rubber isolation mount that comes with the kit for the fuel pump. That deteriorated like instantly. I mean, it didn't even take 6 months, and that completely rotted, and there's no reinforcing inside of it, and the fuel pump dropped out of it. So now that's hard mounted, and it's kind of noisy. It click, 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 and you can hear it inside the bus when it's running. It's not that big of a deal. Just, you can hear it. And then the other issue is that the fuel line that comes with these things is the same kind of plastic line that you would get with an mechanical oil pressure gauge. You know, that cheap plastic line, the Teflon line. And the way you connect those small 1/8 inch plastic lines to the fuel pump and to like the fuel tank and to the heater itself is with they give you little short pieces of rubber hose. And that rubber hose is just about as good quality as the rubber mounts that came with the fuel pump, and it leaks. Let's see how much it leaks. I discovered this when I was on the side of the road fixing my exhaust temperature probe, and I was wrapping things up, getting ready to leave, and I looked underneath the front of the bus, and there's a big puddle of fuel, and drip, drip, drip. Great. That's a fair amount of oil that leaked out over the course of the evening. It's enough that I'm not going to throw it away. Maybe we should get to getting. Stop your jaw jacking, man. Let's go to Death Valley. Okay. On the Furnace Creek. Welcome to Death Valley. So glad you could join us. And I am so happy to be here. Standing at the entrance of the West Side Road, closest to Furnace Creek. And let's see if I can point some features out to you. That peak up there, the tallest one, that's Telescope. And this peak right here in the foreground, that's Guaraberry Point. I'll put a link up there someplace if you want to see that video. We're heading down this way, oh, somewhere down in that general area to I believe it's Galena Wash. It's around that general area. We're gonna do a little off-roading, see if we can't find a cabin. And we're not going to stay in it tonight. Well, we're going to check it out. Oh, here's a great traveling tip. When I drive cross country, and for a long, periods of time, I get very constipated. Sorry, this is a little personal, but maybe I can help somebody. I get very constipated because I'll drive. I'm one of those dads. We're making good time. We can't stop. Barely stop to eat. Well, here's a tip. Buy a bag of apples. Today's variety is Honeycrisp. And eat at least an apple a day. The reason why they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away is because this will keep you from getting constipated. Fun facts to know and yell. Ah, it's good to be back. Let's go. Airing down my tires. Oh, they're not hissing no more, so we can go. Let's go.